In today's video, we're going to change the cam follower, which is located right here. So let's begin. The first step is open the door, take your key, remove this cover, and look for the fuel pump. So fuel pump is number 28. Trying to focus. So fuel pump is number 28. 40. So this is the fuel pump. I'm going to remove it. So when I open the door, the fuel pump doesn't prime the fuel lines, so I don't get fuel spraying into my face. Now I remove the cover. And we're going to begin. So first thing I like to do is give myself some space. So I'm going to remove this vacuum line. My car is very different than yours, as I already been everywhere, and I made myself an easier job by fitting a clamp here instead of a one-time use clamp. So for me it's just a matter of unscrewing, pulling this back, but for you it will be different. And then last, pull this out, we set it aside. Then I'm going to remove this bracket just to give myself more space. After this cover is out, I'll put it out of the way. Then I'm going to remove the PCV hose. Just like that. Then I'm going to disconnect the plugs to the fuel pump. It's just a tab under, I need to press it in and push forward and pull. One, and then the second one. See you. So yeah, that's out of the way. Now I'm going to do the most important thing. I'm going to release the pressure. So to remove the pressure on this fuel pump, all you have to do is remove this plug. Make sure you remove the fuel pump fuse first. Take a rag, put it under. And now, unfortunately, I won't be able to do this on camera, I think. I'm going to use the screw from here or anything. I'm going to put it behind the cloth and press with the cloth inside. Just like that. With two hands it's better, so with two hands I get to put the cloth everywhere so it doesn't spill, but it's okay. That was it. Now it's safe to remove. So that's a 13mm. That's it. Make sure you don't drop this anywhere. You don't want to drop it. If I drop it, it's going to be fine, as I have 3 spare fuel pumps complete, but I don't know about you. Almost dropped it. I'm going to set it aside. See, the fuel is dripping now, the remaining fuel. So next I'm going to crack open the feed line. So the feed line is here. It's right this one. So to remove that one, I have a 17. Just carefully put it over. Try to loosen it. So to give it a bit more space, I'm going to remove this weather stripping. So now, after I remove this weather strip, I have a bit more access, more space. There you go. Now I can loosen it by hand. It should come very easy out. Especially if you replace it every 5,000 miles or less like me. So now that is out, we can begin to remove the fuel pump. So at this stage, all I do is remove the 3 bolts. Okay. Then I'm going to remove this shield, this cover, and then I'm going to pull the pump out and twist it towards there, just so I can get in to get the cam flower, and then I'm going to put the new one in, then we put the pump back. I'm not going to remove the second fuel line. I'm not going to remove that because there's no need on this car, you can do it without. So in my case, these bolts are 5mm Allen. In your case, they should be T30 screws. I have replaced them, so that's why they're not the same. I like to crack this loose one by one, not too much. And also, as you can see, I have marked them with paint, so I know if they come loose because I have barely tightened them. So look at that. That is very loose, trust me. I do not like to tighten these bolts too tight because I have a screw up case before and I wasn't even tightening them. I was removing the bolts and the bolts came with the threads. So somebody before me stripped the threads and I'm not planning to do that. So I have removed the bolts. I couldn't show you, but what I did is I hold my hand on the pump to maintain equal pressure. So now I'm going to try to pull the fuel pump out. So it's stuck. And I know why it's stuck. This bottom metal feed line is always holding it. So I press it down and now I release my fuel pump. So as you can see, now I'm able to pull the pump out. There's not much room, but it's just enough. See? That is the fuel pump out. So I'm going to leave the fuel pump right here for a minute while I change the cam follower. So let's remove the cam follower and see the wear on it. Keep in mind that this cam follower is 3,000 miles old. And this is a stage 2 plus KO4 car that kind of destroys the cam follower. So let's check the wear on it. Not bad. Not bad, not great. The last one was worse. I'm going to take some pictures of it with my phone and I'm going to post the picture. But here is the brand new one. So I'll put some oil on the new cam follower. And I'm going to carefully put it back in. I'm trying to see if you can see. The cam lobe is now worn. I mean, not that you can see it, but it wears the cam followers very fast. This time around it didn't did it. That's strange. So I'm going to install the cam follower slowly and make sure it doesn't bind all the way in. Now that it's in, the seal looks like it has some lube on it. And all I'm going to do is slide the pump back in. So I take the pump. This is the Vis Motorsport fuel pump, which looks fine, obviously. So I'm going to slide it right back in. Now let's see how I removed it. Okay. I don't want to touch with the tip anything else. That's the only downside of this. So you need to take your time. You see that? I'm very close, but I'm not touching. So I put it in the cam follower. Now I'll put it back in its bore. Nice. Now I'm going to take the shield which is actually a cover just to protect this top sensor that always breaks. I'm going to take the bolts, slide the bolts right in, slide the last bolt in, and now I'm going to set the camera down, hold my hand here, press it all the way down like that, and now tighten the bolts by hand all the way. How funny is that? Even the bolts, they are right in their holes, so all I have to do is tighten this to the mark. Not bad. Usually I wipe the marks down. This time I might not. We'll see. So I tighten it by hand. Now I will tighten it very gently. I'm probably not putting any Newton meters on this because I don't want to. Okay, so that's by hand. So I put it in with 2 fingers, yeah? When it stops, it stops. I'm not even putting all my force. So 2 fingers. And the bottom one, 2 fingers. And that's it. I'm not going to tighten it any more than that. Next is pushing this nut back on the thread and starting it by hand. I'm trying to show you. Goes right back up. Usually my trick here is I like to put a bit of oil. So I take a dipstick and I put it on there just so the nut slides easier. But this time it slides very easy. I do that. They never come off, and I also check them quite often, so that's okay. I never had a problem with mine. The bolts, like I showed you, tighten with 2 fingers, they never came out. Every car is different, but this is how I do mine. Okay, so now number 17, and this also, you don't want to tighten it too hard. The nut feels tight now, so I'm going to tighten it. That's it. Now the fuel pressure release valve that you use to relieve the pressure. I'll install it right back in. Nice and snug. Take my 13mm, and this one as well, you don't want to tighten it too much, you just snug it up. So I just snug it. That's it. Now we wipe down everything. Oops. And put the plugs back in. And you want to make sure they click. Okay, that clicked along with my finger. There you go. What else? Now I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to put the fuel pump fuse back in, and we're going to check for leaks. This is a very important step, so you don't want to miss it out. So we open the door, take the number 20 fuse, and I remember the location is number 28 on this car, and I remember it because I've done it so many times. So put it back in. And now we take the key and put it into ignition in first position. And we go and check. So the way I like to check is I just put my finger on it. If it's dry, it's dry. And usually the bottom one is the one that leaks. It's dry, it's fine. So at this step, take the ignition off. At this step I like to put everything back and then start the car up and check again if it leaks. So I'll put the brake booster hose back in. Put this back in. Make sure this is in because this is your brakes. Then I'm going to put this cover back on.
ele já quis me julgar.
Put this cover back in. Put the PCV hose back into my PCV delete, which is not going to be easy, obviously. It's never easy. Oh, this time was easy. Thank God for that. Then put this bracket back up. So I managed to put the bracket back on, off the camera. Tighten this bolt. And then we're going to crank the car and start it up and see if we have any leaks. If I see any leaks, I'm going to stop the engine right away. Okay, don't need to be too tight, just snug. There we go. Going to leave the cover right here. Everything looks fine. Let's start it up and see how she works. So before I start it up, I like to prime the car a little bit. Yeah, I know service, but don't worry, you're getting your service right now. Okay, one more time. I'm going to check for leaks. Okay, so any leaks? Touch my hand. It's dry, everything looks good. Let's start it up. It is normal for the car to start a bit slower because you just drain the fuel system, but after that it should start fine. Oh, look at that. Everything okay. Now let's check for leaks. Dry and dry. Everything looks good. So we have finished changing the cam follower. This car is good to go now. I hope you learned something, and I hope you go and check your cam follower. As you've seen, it only takes 5 minutes to remove, and it's very easy. And you don't want this thing to break down in your car, as it will damage your engine. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something today. I'll see you in the next videos.